So here we have a legendary fight as well. Yeah. Benson Henderson versus Gilber Melendez.
Yeah.
How good was Benson Henderson at this time?
Yeah, he was well #1 in the world, right? Like, so like I said at the beginning of it all, when I thought I was the best, I wish I could have fought BJ, and then BJ lost to Frankie, and you know, and then he fought Gray 3 times. And I remember when Strikeforce got bought out, like Dana called me, said, I'm gonna have Gray Maynard come over and fight you. He never did. I ended up fighting Masvidal and a couple other guys, Thompson. But anyways, nevertheless, my first fight in the UFC was for the championship right here. And at that time, Benson won 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 3 against Frankie or something like that. So he was #1. Really good kicks. You can't tell me different. I beat this guy this night. I got robbed. I won this fight. I beat him up. I truly believe that. I think 99% of the people believe that. He had some really good leg kicks, and he was fast, you know, and he did some good teeps up the middle, some good knees. But I felt like I won that fight. It was great, man. He's a savage. I actually really like Benson. But I think I was the better fighter. I pressed him. I was aggressive. You know, I beat him, man.
I remember when.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah,
I remember when, baby.
Yeah.
And if you go read a lot of the comments as well, I don't know if that gives you any satisfaction, but a lot of them say this.
Yeah, I had a great career. Like I was like, I beat the Dream champ, I beat the Shudo champ, I was a WC champ, Strikeforce champ, and if I won this, I would have been the UFC champ, you know, and that would have been amazing for me. And then I fought Diego after this fight.
Yeah, you went on 2 really good fights. The UFC gave you a championship fight going right into it because that was your first fight coming from being a Strikeforce champion in the UFC, right?
That's true.
So they did that to a lot of people. I think that's when Rampage unified his belt, right? Because he went from Pride to UFC. They did kind of the same thing.
Against Dan Henderson?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
So is that what UFC was trying to do? They were trying to unify belts?
I think it was just the opportunity at the right time as he absorbed some companies. You know, first he absorbed Pride. Like I used to fight in Pride. Yeah. And I remember I was like, oh man, I made it a Pride. I'm going to be here the rest of my career. And then all of a sudden they got bought out. It was amazing. Yeah. I fought in Pride out there. It was like my first journey. Yeah, they absorbed the UFC. The UFC absorbed Strikeforce. I remember calling Scott Coker. I said, "Is this for sure?" And he said, "Yeah." And then they re-upped their deal, so I had to stay like 2 or 3 more fights with them. And I fought Kawajiri over there. I remember Dana I fought Masvidal, and I fought Thompson again under the banner before we merged.
Look at that face, Gilbert, just fucking mean.
Yeah.
Straight scrap.
I remember everyone was booing Benson. He was like trying to go like this. Everyone's like, boo. And I was like, I'm not going to do that either, you know. It was home field advantage.